Hey, Jeannine, welcome to the Retail Whore podcast.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. Long time.
I know, I'm so honored. The backstory, which we'll get into in a second, is you and I have gone back years. We both had stores at Fred Segal in Santa Monica. I made my exit prior to yours, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I think I've always been in fashion since I stopped school. So I've started more as a stylist. Then I was a stylist, and then I opened a store in Fred Segal. I opened one store, and then I opened a second store.
I forgot about the second one.
I have a few different lives. Currently, I just launched a line called Les Superbe it's been about 3.5 years. So we launched prior to when the pandemic started, and we had, we went out with a bang, and then all of a sudden we had to survive the past 2 years in a pandemic.
I can't even imagine.
I shouldn't even say survive and thrive, because we're working hard and not letting it stop us.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you guys really skipped a beat. It seemed like you literally, if you follow your Instagram, it continued on as if everyone was dressing fabulously at home in the pandemic.
No, I don't even think that we even spun it smoke and mirrors. So you'll go back down to that my IG, and you'll see that all of a sudden we were making masks and like everybody was posting it. I know, but we were the first ones. And it was funny because William, my ex-husband, he was like, he's so reluctant. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not going to sit still while we're being locked down. I got to keep going. And he was like, kind of like poo-pooing it. And then all of a sudden, like, we made thousands of masks.
It's crazy.
And we made it all with leftover fabrics, which is cool.
Which it's crazy to me. Yeah, I'll be so happy when those days are done. But it was when, I don't know, I was following some thread and I got on it, and it was two fashionistas talking about Gucci and whatnot. And I was like, so do you think that they are going to be doing masks? And they were like, oh, we're not even talking about that. It's like, well, it's the reality. And that was like very, very beginning of the pandemic. And it's like, it'll be interesting to see who does follow that route. And then now 2 years later, I don't think Gucci made them, but certainly almost.
Oh, I'm sure they did somewhere.
It's like, so, okay, you are a Southern California girl. You grew up Santa Monica or Venice?
I grew up in Venice, went to Venice High, in fact, Mark Twain, like all the Venice schools, but
skater girl,
a lot of time in Santa Monica.
I love it. Like, skater girl, Dogtown, like local. Your backstory is, I love it as far as SoCal local. What did you do after high school? Did you go right into fashion?
No, actually, what I did is I was going to SMC and working full-time retail. And
where retail?
And I was UCLA extensions too, because I was trying to get my degree while working full-time. And pardon, what store? It was a store called Blondie's in the Marina.
Okay.
And then I worked and this is probably how I have a shoe addiction, because I worked for Vin Baker. Do you remember Vin Baker?
Yep. You have quite the shoe collection too, let me tell you.
Yeah, he was in the Santa Monica Mall. And when I worked there, he was there. It was Vin you worked for, and he just trained you yeah. So, I feel like I got like my hardcore retail training probably from Vin Baker in the beginning.
And then how did you end up, what age were you when you ended up at stores at Fred's, and how did you end up with stores at Fred's? Because I know all of us have a story about how we acquired our store, and they're all.
I actually haven't heard yours.
I'll tell you mine.
Have you talked about it on this podcast?
I did an About Me solo. It's hilarious because I turned in a resume like 4 days before the Fred Segal sale to Michael Campbell. And I was like, Manhattan Beach girl, like not, I'd been in fashion, but like wet seal fashion, like not fashion. And I
I
turned
did photo shoots for Wet Seal, by the way. too.
I think everyone has some connection to freaking Wet Seal. It's like, it's in everybody's blood. But I turned in my resume and Michael hired me. And I still shudder at this thought. I showed up to the first day at sale because we had to wear denim and our Fred Segal shirt. So I had
Sale
cut off Daisy Duke shorts and my Fred Segal t-shirt, and Michael Campbell, because he built up the denim bar, he built it up on cubes, like the glass cubes. And because I was wearing that hideous outfit, and he's like, because you're wearing that, I'm going to make you stand in the middle and get up on the stage. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
So Michael Campbell.
oh my God. So, but I, it was only supposed to be temp, but I stayed there and then ended up being a manager. And then when they opened for Better Ecology, Fred let me have a chance. Michael and Fred let me have a chance, but it's funny. I just found a card from Michael that said, congratulations, partner. So weird. I just found that card.
Oh,
So how did you end up at your store?
I was doing a shoot. I was working all the time with Belinda Carlisle. She had been solo and I'd been traveling with her from her solo career, like in, all over Europe. I mean, super lucky. Like
You're still her stylist.
well, you know what? I hate to title myself a stylist. I'd rather be a collaborator. Because I think you don't want to take all the credit for somebody when they have their own vibe too. I really believe in enhancing people's personal style. So, I mean, I'm completely capable of changing a style, but I think that's been my most successful times is when I have really cool women that I work with and they're so open, simpatico.
You have some pretty cool clients.
Yeah, but with Fred Segal, I was actually in there and I was pulling from Pascal and Couture, and I was pulling all the Dolce for Belinda for one of her videos. And then I've been looking for stores, and I thought maybe I lived more East Side. So I was, looking over on La Brea, Melrose, around there. And then Pascal said to me, why don't you have a store here? And I said, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. And then she's like, well, why don't you meet with Fred or Michael? And like literally 2 days later, I was in their office in the back. And about maybe 6 days later, I had a lease. I was like, oh shit, now what do I do?
Amazing.
Like it just kind of went, it was just kind of really like organic. It wasn't so thought out, but I was very thoughtful about what I wanted my image to be, how I wanted to approach it. Because as a stylist, you're in stores all the time. So what there's not. Makes sense?
Yep. What, tell everybody what lines you had, because I've kind of forgotten, but I just remember I adored shopping. I can afford it.
When I first opened, I was visiting the UK a lot. So I had like Bella Freud, who was, she had worked under Vivienne Westwood at the time. So she was like a new designer. I opened with William B.
Mm-hmm.
So, who was my boyfriend, but he made clothes, but we didn't work together then. But so like nobody really had Williams women's wear. So that was kind of a cool thing. God, I don't even remember, Michelle. Everybody I've had so many like, I'm trying to think who else I might have had. I had UK designers a lot because I felt like there weren't UK designers in LA. And what I wanted to bring was at those times, like you'd like devour magazines and mostly you found style on pop stars. You found them. It wasn't even celebrity yet, Michelle. Yeah. So that happened while I was there, but my focus was always music, but and models were kind of the celebrities for a while back then, 90s.
Yeah, I was gonna say what year was
Huh?
I was gonna say what year is this? The 90s.
Yeah, 90s. I mean, I opened Flair in 92.
Oh my God.
I know it's so scary, but it was so great. It was just like everything just kept getting more exciting. Fashion started being more important. The challenging thing that I found was because you were a store in LA and the whole epicenter was really New York, East Coast, there was a little bit, and I say this with the kindest words, was a little bit snobby towards the West Coast. Like we didn't have any fashion cred. Nobody got LA. Nobody got at that, Michelle, the beach. Like
Yeah.
nobody got that culture so much. And I don't know about you, but I feel like we had to like prod ahead. And even if you had an LA store and you were a multi-line store, you just had to like say like, this is my jam. This is what I see. And then you could start seeing how things started kind of shifting,
Yeah.
like kind of like how they're shifting now. They were shifting then, but it was exciting because you could start seeing, I could tell, sorry, I'm going on long sentence, but I could tell because the celebrity culture started ramping up.
Yeah.
And I was still styling. I remember I was working as a stylist still, so I could have my store and not pay myself.
I was just going to say you were doing both. Wow.
So I paid myself for by styling so I could keep turning my inventory around and putting it back into my store. You have to do that.
Yeah, I don't remember getting paid. Still, it's funny because there's so much I don't remember there. I mean, it was such an amazing time. I mean, you and I talked about this. Like I feel like my best traits as a retailer were developed between Fred Segal and Anthropologie. Fred for the customer service aspect of it, like that true hand to mouth, spoon feeding customers. And, I still say it now because everyone's like, Amazon's taking over the world. It's like, no, not if you have excellent customer service and you are in touch with their customers and you're on the phone with them. Or back then it was like, we had everyone and their brother's phone numbers and it was like, hi, so-and-so.
Oh my gosh, everybody's. And if you didn't have their number, you'd have their assistants, and there was not texting.
No.
So yeah, it was a lot of word of mouth too. Like, oh my God, you hear the Chloe bag came in, and then all of a sudden you'd have this herd of people. Like, yeah, it was super, like, it was way more organic and way more connected.
Yeah.
Way more
intimate.
Of a community, which when I say a community, I know our community now via social media is so global, which is very cool too. It is cool. And so I don't like hearken myself and go, oh, I missed those days, but they were special days that probably will never happen again. And that's what's cool. Like you really knew.
I was like, we were so lucky to have such intimate relationships. And I mean, like one of the guys that worked for me babysat for Tom Hanks. I mean, it was just like, there's, unfortunately that was my demise is, as 27-year-old, you get so wrapped up in like the celebrity and like, oh my gosh. And you get all puffed up and ego and like, oh, look at me. And I mean, I unfortunately went down the deep road of ego, but it was just such an amazing.
I don't think you did, but that's okay.
Oh, girl, I was so, I said this in the solo cast, like I was such an asshole. Like I will be the first person to admit, like and I'm really, now when I step back and I look at it, I honest to God, I'm super grateful for that experience because I mean, I went through bankruptcy. I didn't just close quietly. I mean, it was like, it was a thing. And I'm glad that I had that because on the humility of going through that, like I'll never act like that again, no matter what I come into, but it was, I mean, I was 27. I mean,
oh my God, but everything you'll never do again. Like I want to be diplomatic. There's a lot of things that I would not probably ever do again with a lease.
Oh yeah.
And rent. Yeah.
Lessons, but it was, I mean, I am so grateful for that whole experience. Like there's nothing, there's no other better education that I could have asked for as far as that.
No, like, and it was such a small, like, chosen group of people. Even the Melrose store, like, they, John and then Jackie came from Melrose, and like the whole, like, it was like, it can't happen again like that. Like,
No,
which is cool. Like, because now there's the new Fred Segal, which I haven't been in.
I haven't either. And I have to say, it doesn't feel the same. I mean, I've been at the airport one. That's definitely why it doesn't feel
Oh,
the
I've been on
but
that, like, bought jelly beans or something.
same. It just, I don't know. I mean, I think part of what made that store what is because all the buyers and the
People.
owners of these stores had such incredible taste that
Taste, personalities, they really, like, were themselves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like this group of people that just made it, like, special. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a band, your favorite band, but we were just like a big band.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
Yeah,
What year did you close your stores? Were you there till the end when the building was sold?
I closed in 09.
And then where did you go from there?
And then I had simultaneously, I had opened a store in the Brentwood Country Mart.
That's right.
I had a store in the Brentwood Country Mart for a while. And then soon it was my time to leave retail.
It's your career path though. I mean, what you've taken from having retail spaces, you've continued on with styling, and then you created this insane line, Les Superbe, that I feel like is kind of a love letter to California and the skate culture and the surf.
It is, because, and Michelle, what's funny is that it is a love letter to LA, and sometimes there's winks that are super obvious, and sometimes the winks aren't as obvious, but what it always is like, especially because I haven't been able to travel, and usually, like, I start being inspired by something I saw and it tumbles together, but everything has been about somewhere. And I don't limit it to LA, but like I had one season where I was in Joshua Tree. I have one season, because I like to say beach to the Boulevard, because as I feel like my experience is, I grew up West Side by the beach, like skate, not even skate, but I mean, they were certainly all in our peripheral, but growing up, and then all of a sudden you want to run to Hollywood. You want to get away as far as you can from the beach and go into, at least I did. I went like full on the other way. I moved east and had fun in the nightlife, and so, but that's all in our city. It's all here. You can do that. So you can go from beach to boulevard. So I just try to have that ethos where you're like, you can be casual and down low, which has always been what we came from Fred Segal anyways. Like, we wore jeans to work a lot. It was okay for us to wear flip-flops. It wasn't,
That's what I live in. Maybe your style, one thing, to go back to Fred Segal, I will say this, like, your style, I still remember, like, you in these like torn up, like 501s and these insane, super pointy mules with these gorgeous, like cresting, like the rhinestones, but like really big, chunky rhinestones, and like some fabulous t-shirt. And it was so effortless, and it was so chic. And it was, I mean, you were just like, you and Past to me were always just like, it was so casual and so easy and so just natural, like just pulled together. But that look is still what I see you as.
I think, and probably you see that in my collection or in my clothing. collection. I mean, I try and convey that a lot. You know, like when I started Les Superbe, it was a stylist closet or a stylist rack. So it didn't have to be like, I know you remember this, you go into collections and then they have everything in blue, everything in red, and then like 5 million ways to wear one print.
Yeah.
And we try and pick it out, like the it piece. So like, this is what I kind of feel. And now that we're talking, like even how I bought for Flair or for my retail stores, I always bought as a stylist. Like it probably drove the reps crazy.
But that's what made it so brilliant, because it was so, okay. It was.
I wasn't scared to do that. Like I'd say your jacket's the star, and the reps would hate it because it wouldn't be the whole collection.
Yeah.
But then I would put that with the star pant, and somehow these designers would start living together in the same room.
You did,
and then
like,
they would have
it was such a
friends.
great mix. I mean, it was such a great mix, but it's also because you cherry picked it, and it's very much still how I buy, not so much for apparel because I live in the land of cash and carry now, but certainly for when I'm curating gift collections, I will cherry pick, and it does make the reps crazy because it's like,
That makes them crazy.
you want the whole thing. It's like, no, I want these pieces because this is what I feel like are the strongest pieces for.
Yeah.
And
like,
you did that perfectly and that's a really good analogy of, because it was so well curated and cherry picked, and it all flowed together, much like you're saying, as a stylist. I think that's literally like,
yeah, like I remember I just wanted to be able to, I remember, because styling's not always easy, and it's hard, and it's a schlep. And I remember just going at one time, I had this like epiphany where I'm like, you know what, I just want to make a place where the stylist can go to me. Like I'll work with the stylist. So that, I just tried to find like, the star pieces.
I still have one piece from you, and it's so dumb, but it's still like my favorite thing is the Anna Hickmark.
Everybody tells me a story.
The Anna Hickmark, the
Anya Highmark.
Highmark. I'm not a
plastic bag.
And I'm not kidding you. I'll pull that out of nowhere sometimes. I don't even know where it is, but I'll pull it out of nowhere.
I have it on my door right now. Like
Japanese come up to me every single flea market and every single farmer's market. Where did you get that bag? Can I buy that bag? I'm like, no.
Oh my God, I have like about 6 of them in a box.
I need another one. If you want to part with one, this one is so beat down. It's like, it has stains on the bottom. Okay. This is like 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. That's how old it is.
Remember that was the whole start of like the sustainable and all that. And do you remember I did the collab with Anya? I was her LA partner, and we had lines. Did you remember that line that went out of our store?
No.
Oh my God, people lined up forever for that.
Is it that literally to me is the epitome of fashion during that time, like the 90s.
So much hype.
It was nothing. There's nothing like that. And it was so exciting, and people lined up for stuff, and stuff sold out like in a day. Those days are
so exciting.
But that your collection now, what I love is the mix that you're doing with it, because you did that sequin skirt last season, and I was dying over it. But you pair it with like a t-shirt, one of your t-shirts, and I think
shirt or funky sweater.
So good. So tell me
what I'm obsessed with.
Tell me if you have to explain, well, first let me go back. Tell me about how Les Superbe came to be, because you are one of the founders. You have a couple partners.
Yeah, I was one of the founders. What was I? I'd always spoken to Betsy Eisenberg. She has the showroom 1011. We had always gone back and forth, and she had always said, Jeannine, if you ever want to do something, I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything. You have to remember, I lived with William forever, who had a line. So you're just like, no, I'm going to stick with retail and styling. And then, I'm obsessed. I'm always reading and everything. And I started seeing everybody, especially European designers, were doing California, and they weren't doing it how it really could be done. Like, it wasn't real. It was like an interpretation, which fashion always is, and nothing wrong with that. But I was like, I could totally do this. And so I was talking to her, and she goes, well, can you put something together in like 2 months? And William and I went to William. Now William's my ex-husband now. And I asked him if he could do it, and he said, yeah. And so we just kind of rolled the dice, you know, almost like how you open a store in Fred Segal, huh?
Seems to work for us.
Yeah. You just say yes.
Yep.
Yeah. You just say yes. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it was pretty cool. What happened was that Betsy took it to New York. So we went straight out. Like, we started in November, and then it went to fall market in February. So November, December, like 3 months barely. You know how hard it is to do that.
Yeah.
And she took it to New York quietly, and you know, I had all my sequins and this, and then she said, everybody started going, what's this? What's this? And it was funny because she would say, you know, Jeannine, William, and then they're like, are they back together? And we're like, no, they're consciously uncoupled. They're definitely not back together.
Which I love that you guys are still so tight. That's so coming from being a divorced person. That is so fucking hard.
Yeah. So anyway, that's really, it really is how it started. And then we just kept going, you know. I can honestly say I could see, you know, sometimes when we're doing the collection, like I noticed like my collection last holiday, which is one of my favorites. I shot it at the iconic Bradbury building. Michelle, I shot that. I was able to get into the Bradbury building, and nobody had been in the building for 2 years. It was boarded up.
Wow.
So when I did the shoot, you know, that's where they did Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So when I did that shoot, I had the whole building to myself.
Oh my God.
And it was like, and I had casted these 2 twins, and my theme was all about roaring 20s. Like, you know, I didn't know Omicron was going to be here, but I was super hopeful and excited and opulent, and it was cool. And it wasn't necessarily so skatery looking, but if you looked at it, I had lots of winks of another side of me, which was, I love astrology. I love anything that's kind of mystical and the universe. And I packed it in with that. So at first you would maybe look at it and go, that doesn't quite look like surf beach skate, but it wasn't, but it was most certainly like such a big element of what I love. So it's pushed it out there. I styled it still, you know, but
even with those elements, it still has, like you said, that wink. And I don't know, was it last season that you did the pants where the pocket was like total old OP style, like the square pocket with
we still do that. Actually, that's one of our best sellers. We do all this army tool that we do. We make it all in LA. We wash it, do everything here. And that's funny that you say that, because I wasn't really referencing OPs, but you're right. They're cut off cargos. Like, we started with our cargo twills and I call them Casbah. You know, and I named them after the Clash, because the Clash always rock the Casbah. They're wearing all the, you know, I have a lot of references to music too,
which I love.
They were wearing those, and those Casbah, and then for spring we're like, let's just cut them off. So we just cut them off and like did really cool colors, and so we try to keep that as our foundation. You know what I mean? That kind of casual. It might be a special color. It might be, you know, we're not denim.
Yeah.
But I do have this denim that's just, I think, gonna go off right now. I just put up on Instagram. It's a vintage jean that we put serape trim on it. And
Oh, I
Indian.
did. I saw that. Is it the
Oh my
cut?
God, I can't believe it. It's probably going to ship in a week and everybody's like on it. And for the first time in a long time, I was like, oh my God, this feels like how it used to feel when you could start feeling something rumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and it will be limited edition. So like get it now or don't.
It's the serape cuff, right?
Uh-huh.
So good. Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah. And then I put on it too, this really cool Indian trim with mirrors on the bottom. So it's just, it's fun. It's like, I don't think the world needs another pair of jeans from me.
Yeah.
Unless I collabed with somebody and it was like, I'd have to collab with like a Levi's or something for me to love it.
Yeah.
I think. But we made these like Williams, like at the wash house, like we're like doing, wear and tear, and it's a lot.
So tell me about, because you just wrapped up fall, correct?
Fall.
What's fall feel like for you for Les Superbe?
Fall for me, I did fall. First of all, you're always looking like, what's my story? Where was my person going? What is she doing? And back in October, I actually had the opportunity to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I dressed Belinda. So Belinda came to me and she's like, she goes, would you dress me in all Les Superbe? And then I'm like, duh, like, of course, like, yeah, like, I'm so excited to. So we started meeting like a few months before, and she was looking at my fall 21 and holiday collection, and we found perfect pieces. So as they started coming in, of course, I tailored them more for her because she's performing. So you have to do some things to make them more comfortable. But so we just kept meeting every time she would fly in. And then we went to Rock Hall of Fame in Ohio. So that's the first time I've traveled in 2 years.
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, maybe I traveled once to the East Coast, but really not since. And you start like going like, where's my girl going? And what was really cool is we got the opportunity to go into the Rock Hall of Fame Museum, and they had all, everybody that's ever been in there that's gotten into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A lot of them have their own little their own little, what do I want, displays, which you would appreciate. You should go work there. And like I was wandering around, I got lost in there for a while, and I was just noticing, like, I got into the Elvis section, and Elvis always wore these cool jackets when he started, and some of them were like encrusted, and some of them were leopard, some of them were pink. But as I went through there, you'd see all these classic American styles. Like I was like, rock and roll kind of has great American styles, meaning I did one jacket that looks like a army jacket that Jimi Hendrix wore, but it was military and it's embellished. But then you go down the ways and you see the Beatles have their embellished because they did Sgt. Pepper's, and the leopard, that it's all similar bodies. So I started being super inspired by that. And so I told my story kind of through music. And then I interpreted it in my shoot. Like, one of my friends, she works at a studio, and she lent me tons of vintage amps. So we did the shoot with just amps. I wasn't always so, literal with a guitar. Although Nick Egan, my friend and a video director that I used to work with on music videos, he came and he shot it. So he shot it like a music video.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after. I just got it yesterday, so that it's a rough, but it's
oh my God,
cool. He put it to the Velvet Underground, and it's really cool. Like it made sense. And the pieces, for me, for fall, I felt like people needed things that they might want to wear a couple times. I wanted things that were wearable, that you could wear them a second time or a third, you know what I mean? Because sometimes something's so special,
Not too
it's
precious.
super identifiable, and then you're limited when you're going to wear it on repeat.
Yeah.
And I just thought about that for now. It felt like how the times were, like, and no way bad times. I'm saying like classics, like that you want to just put together for your personal style. So you could take my jacket and wear it with your own jeans, or you could take my military jacket and wear it with your high-waisted trousers. Like, you know,
I love how you came with the inspiration, because, you know, I always ask people, like, where do you find inspiration? Because for me, it's like, we go back to old school magazines, like stacks and stacks of magazines, and for gift and home fashion, it starts at fashion and then it trickles down to gift and home a couple years later. Like the whole indigo thing that was so big years ago in fashion is still popping up, but it's in home and in tabletop and pillows.
Sometimes, but I think my other favorite thing is street fashion. I'm not saying street urban. I'm saying I love, and I miss right now because I didn't go to New York, but I just love seeing on the streets what an individual wears. I'm interested in personal style. Like I'm not too hung up on the designer. And and you'll notice that's what you'll see the chicest people, even on red carpet. Usually they have their own personal style. They'll take a risk. And I mean, although, you know, now it's so branded now, everything. Like when I was styling, I remember it was just starting. People were like kind of offering me, like, if you dress so-and-so in this, we'll do this for you. And I started feeling quite rebellious. Like, I don't want somebody to kind of talk me into what I want to dress them for that. I mean, I know it was probably too integrity driven. I probably should have done it, but I did it.
No, but that's what makes you kind of that little bit of rebel streak in you. I mean, but also it shows up in your design.
Bad. I was like, you can't pay me to put blah, blah, blah on her. You can't pay me. And if I loved it, I'm like, I'll put it on her and I'll make you guys shine. Like for nothing. Like I'll go buy it retail. Yeah.
Where else do you find inspiration? Because at the street, I know, like when it's fashion week, I love seeing what everyone's wearing, because some of it's so out. I mean, I'm not fashion. I wear leggings half the time because I have to schlep shit back and forth.
Everybody has.
But I love seeing in fashion, like after fashion week, seeing just the random people, and sometimes they're out there and sometimes it's like just so good, and it's not off the runway
right now. It's different. It's funny. I just went to, because we have Freeze here this weekend, and I went with a friend of mine to the Prada party that they had for Freeze at Genghis Cohen. And I went, I was like, honestly, like I've not been in a crowd. I was like, oh my God, this looks like there's so many people. Like, I was cool about it, but I'm just saying that everybody, like, it was interesting. Everybody was a lot more casual, but with one blingy piece. And their blingiest piece were usually their Balenciaga tennis shoes. Really?
Hilarious.
Like they all had tennis shoes, but I actually loved it. I took a lot of photos because I just thought a lot of it was youth culture. And a lot of the youth are spending a lot of money on designer clothes. But I mean, I couldn't tell you one exact trend that I saw more than anything was the tennis shoes, the bloated ones that, are the it things right now. But I did notice that everybody had personal style. Like everybody was in every direction. Like,
I just got, because I do magic and I'll do project. And one thing I was so fucking happy to see is like the departure or very little athleisure being shown. And, at the cash and carry level and the contemporary, it's like the tie-dye thing. It was like nice to see that kind of going away.
Oh
Not
my God,
away.
that tie-dye thing. But can I tell you, I took it to the next level. I did tie-dye maybe for like it was probably holiday. And I ended up tie-dyeing cashmere. I put diamonds all over the cashmere. Then I sent it to someone that does all the tie-dye for Grateful Dead. And I have to like I wanted a sun and I wanted a rainbow. And he'd be like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, okay, let's try. And like, I probably drove him nuts, but it took a couple times and we got it and it turned out so cool. And then he actually came back to me and he goes, Jeannine, you are one of the people that challenged me the most. Nobody's ever challenged me to do that. Nobody's ever told me to do it on cashmere. And he goes, but it was really cool because Katy Perry saw it and he contacted me and she wanted to do tie-dye. And I thought, that's so cool. You never know what happens. Like I didn't make a lot of them. They were all each hand tie-dye. Whoever gets those sweaters is so
How many
lucky.
went out into production?
Maybe 100.
Wow. Those are true collector pieces.
Yeah. I don't know if he could have handled any more anyways,
Well, something that detailed, no, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So how did you find the guy that does the tie-dye for the Grateful Dead?
Oh, because another friend of mine, he he's a creative director for a company that does house music and events. So he was having them do their t-shirts, but for raves.
Oh my God. That's great. It was so, unfortunately at the cash and carry level, it was every which way from Sunday. And it was like, the first couple of years, it was like, oh, I love this. And then I guess it was July Magic. It was like everywhere to the point where I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I can handle it. And it's like, it's not like cashmere at that level. It's cashmere at cash and carry level. And when it's like everywhere, it is everywhere.
When you're saying it, you're referring to tie-dye.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
it was nice
Yeah.
because now that I just got back, it was nice to kind of see it somewhat take the back seat and have florals come back, and nice to see dresses come back and get out of everyone wearing sweats, because at the cash and carry level, that's all. That's what everyone wore anyway.
When you say cash and carry, maybe your audience doesn't always know this. I know they're all retailers. Cash and carry, what is that now?
Cash and
I were
carry,
never in the fashion business. I don't cash and carry.
hilarious.
Unless I'm at the Santa Monica airport or at Rose Bowl.
Cash and carry is it's Korean.
You pay for it right there.
Korean fast fashion. So you can go down to the showrooms and see the line. And instead of writing out projected delivery windows, 5/1, 5/15, you're like, I'll just take 6. You basically,
is it clothes or is it candles? And
it's all apparel, all accessories. So there's a place downtown called Joya, and it's like a 3-story, basically department store of all fast fashion accessories. And it's like,
will you take me?
Yes, you would love it. It is super inspiring because it's nuts, because it's all knocked off, but it's like, these crazy Gucci inspired headbands with bees or all the rhinestones for $4 it's insane, but it's all fast fashion, and it's all.
No, I'm just curious to see that. I don't even think I've ever seen that. It sounds like Santee Alley.
It's like Santee Alley is retail now. So it's Santee Alley, like on steroids, but it's 90, I want to say 80% Korean. So it's all fast fashion. It's all of the moment. It's all like
cash and carry wholesale, and you have to have a wholesale.
It's all wholesale. They don't have retail. I think sometimes on Saturdays you can go down and buy, but it's all wholesale. And it's like, And it sits, to be honest, it sits really well with contemporary lines and better upper lines that that you have a higher profit margin. It's just, you got to be really careful with fabrication. Some of the fabrics are fabulous. Some of them feel super
Synthetic.
cheap and synthetic, but the drape, and depending on, the weight of the fabric, but it's a whole nother world, but it's definitely, it's like, that's cash and carry.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I didn't know, because I know like you go a lot to the gift shows and cash and carry, as I recall, because I have done gift buying, but it was
There's cash and carry section there as well.
yeah, or else you pick it out and they give you the order COD in like a day or two after the show's over.
So it's pretty much the same thing. It's a whole, over the last, I mean, it had a huge boom, I want to say 10 years ago, like that area, it's like town and Santee, or town, San Pedro, that it's like maybe 3 mile square.
So our studio is on Los Angeles between 7th and 8th.
Okay, so it's right, it's like further over towards like Maple. Yeah,
Oh, no, the opposite.
Maple's Fashion District, so it's further past, or Flower District, so it's further past. But
Okay.
it was at one point, it was such a big thing that the whole, like, it was crazy busy. You couldn't find a parking spot, and it's pre-pandemic, it had already started falling off, and so you'd see people, but it's still there, but it's just nice to see it, from everything being joggers and t-shirts and sweats to finally like dresses and patterns again, and not tie-dye pattern, because at that level, and that price point level, it's like, it's not just at one or two places, it's not like special, it's everywhere, like everywhere.
Right.
So what, you have how many partners are in Les Superbe?
There's 4 of us.
And you and William are the two main designers?
William and I are, in the studio every day. Betsy, she has her showroom, and she's East Coast, West Coast, so she's pretty busy, but she works with us a lot. And then our other partner, his name's Russell, and he was one of the, he started Fabletics, but he's, so everybody, like our deck right now, because we're going to start, we're starting to look for investors in the company. We, on our deck, it says 4 friends and 120 years worth of experience, or something like on it. And it's pretty funny because we've all known each other ins and outs of our career. And so we each bring something different to it with our experience.
Yeah.
So it's quite actually unique.
I don't know very many lines that have that caliber of partners that have that many years experience in the industry.
Yeah. So definitely, and everybody, it's just definitely been where we have been like resilient going to keep going, but it's, gotten pretty, I'm sure you've experienced like the whole supply chain, like you make your fabric and you're waiting for your fabric, and then where's your fabric? And like everyth's taken about 2 or 3 weeks longer than it should. Does that make sense? Are you getting that?
Yeah, has it, I mean, it's way longer than that for us, but
I heard some people are out 6 months if they put it on a ship, on a boat or a ship.
It's so like, there's, for gift, it's different because, it's all produced out of China. So we write it in July, and then, say July, I'm writing for holidays. So for whatever, 10, 15 deliveries. And I think for one of my manufacturers, which is one of the biggest groups we buy from tabletop to baby to, I mean, they do every division. I think I got 4 items: a butter dish, I got dish towels, I got some sponges, and a baby taco oneie. onesie. That's all I got.
Do you mean from your buy?
From my PO that had probably 40 items on it. Those are the
Oh.
4 items I received.
So who are you buying for? Do you have a brick and mortar store? What do you?
I'm not, so this is hilarious that now I'm answering questions.
Yeah.
I'm a retail consultant. So I work with retailers in, helping them open stores, or they can't understand their floor traffic, or they're too overbought and they can't figure out how to curate collections that are cohesive, as opposed to going to the show. I like it all, and they buy it all, and they get to the store and it's like a garage sale.
Right.
I work with people on creating and opening stores. So there's a store called Rock Paradise that they are wholesale crystal people. You would freak out because you love crystal.
Oh, where's that?
It's in Canoga Park. It's across from Follow Your Heart.
You
It's
take
like,
me some of these times.
we'll go on a road trip, because
Okay.
5,000 square feet, and it is, they're wholesalers, so they can get anything in any volume. And I got the opportunity to design the store, create and design all the fixtures, merchandise
Wow.
it, lay it all out. So it's like my baby. But so I'll do that for people. I have a possible project in Panama, which I actually tried to reach out to Pascal, because I don't know if I can do it, but she's opening a multi-luxury brand store. She owns franchises, like she owns Valencia's and they have other stores. It's a family-owned business.
Uh-huh.
They brought me in to help floor plan, because when you buy a franchise, they give you all the specs so that you don't need to know how to do it. So I do something like that. And then for the buying, I work with like this, there's a 5-store pharmacy. I'm their buyer. So we do the shows and we sell apparel. Apparel is like the number one thing in a pharmacy.
In a pharmacy?
It's crazy, but they're $40 is like the magic price point. It's like you're walking through the pharmacy and like, that's a cute t-shirt and that's a cute skirt. I'll take both. And it's instant gratification. You don't really need to think about like, do I hide it from my husband in the trunk, or,
Right.
it's, I mean,
That's all my customers. Yeah.
there's no fitting room. So it's really instant gratification. So, and then my other part of my business is I do design and merchandising for wholesale showrooms for gift, not for apparel, but for gift showrooms. So I vacillate between both worlds, but because of that, like, because the pharmacy does so much apparel, and it's all in that inexpensive, fast fashion, cash and carry
Kind
land.
of fun, probably.
It's what I love is that I have the chance, because at Fred's, when I had my store, so I had a women's store, and then I had the men's store that had all the skate lines like Stussy and Quick and Spot Sport. And then I took over that home store. So I had gift and home. And now I feel like, honestly, like I feel like I have my hands in everything I had my hands in before.
Yeah.
It's nice because I'm not in the same store every day. I mean, that's why I ended up leaving Anthropologie, because I couldn't keep reinventing the same 4 walls anymore. Like I just couldn't creatively go I felt like I couldn't go any further past where I was. So now I have a chance to create it for other people, bring to the table what I did at Fred Segal, and bring to the table what I did at Anthropologie. And that's kind of what I do now. It's like literal ADD job. I mean, it's,
or OCD.
ADD. I mean, it's like, thank God, but it's definitely, it's helped. So I ask everybody, the last 2 questions I ask everybody are, one is, where do you see yourself and Les Superbe in 10 years?
Oh, in 10 years?
It's a long time.
10 years, that's a long time. Well, hopefully, like there'll be a new guard that maybe takes it over, and maybe by then I'll have shoes. Dying to do lingerie or bras and panties. I've been dying to do like a candle, there's a couple scents, home. There's a couple things I want to do in home, but they're very specific, exactly what I want to do. And hopefully, like, I'm in Bali or something.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
I
can see
mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be, chilling at a gorgeous beach without a mask on.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to ask you one more question
Okay.
because you are so busy and because you have a lot of balls in the air. How and where do you find balance?
Oh my God, I'm looking for it. Look at my Instagram. I'm always like, okay, how do I have balance? I often don't have balance, but I find like, if you can find like some form of like, and I don't want to sound woo woo, but some form of, if it's either like a meditation practice or a yoga or if it's walking, something that I stop for a second, because I've literally been, I feel like eating, breathing, living fashion, and I love it. So I'm lucky. but definitely like for me, just to get out, like to travel would be probably probably the best way for me to find balance. And I haven't been able to travel, as I've discussed with you.
Yeah.
So I'm probably a little unbalanced right now, but I think everybody is. But that's how I do. I just kind of have to shut off. I've been really trying to make more time socially.
Good.
I love going to see concerts. That feels balanced to me. Live music.
Yeah.
Museums, balance, not just something that takes me away from what I do every day. How about you?
I like you, I feel extremely unbalanced, especially coming out of like, I feel like honestly, the last 6 months, my business grew like 20%. And while I was prepared for it, I wasn't. And because we were supposed to go to Costa Rica for our 1-year anniversary. And then
so bad too.
the pandemic happened. And then we were supposed to do it again this year. They reopened. It was like, fine, we're buying our ticket, we're going. And then Bristol Farms decided they wanted to do their holiday starting actually on our anniversary, 10/19. It was like,
I think I saw you post that in Instagram.
Really? We're setting up Christmas. So it got canceled. We haven't done anything. And because the podcast has been now a big focus. Like now it's like really something. Before it was like, oh, we're going to record. And, even Lisa said when I signed on for this, it was like, oh, sure, I'll do it. And never did I realize it was going to be actual job. And,
Congratulations.
It's the reception has been insane. I'm constantly blown away from it. And I'm getting more and more daring about asking people. Like I walked up to one of the speakers at Magic and I'm like, hi, I'm Michelle Sherrier. I have the Retail Horror podcast. I'd love to interview. And she goes, I know who you are. And I was like, whoa, like, that's awesome. Like, but in a past life, I wouldn't be so brazen, but I really want this. And I can see like the potential it has, but because of all that, I don't feel balanced. Like, and I'm really bad about getting out. Like when you just said, get out and walk, I'm really trying to like, all right, I'm going to but my day starts at like 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning, I get up, I'm on a job at 6. And a lot of it is I spend so much time in a car driving. So
I have a question for you. How do you save your marriage? And I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
He thank God is one, he works with me a lot. He's my contractor for a lot of my jobs. So he does my Atlanta jobs with me. He's in Vegas with me but he's the biggest balance for me because he'll go, okay, I'm going to be outside now. I'm going to start a fire. I know you need to do things. I'm not pushing you, and I'll look out my window because I can see it, and I can look out and see him out there sitting out there reading, and I keep looking at him like I'm putting it away. And he's really good about that. Like he's definitely my balance. But it's I always ask people because I'm always want to know, like, how do you, and more often people are like, I don't have balance. I don't. And that's like,
I think in our world, you have to have this drive and you have to have this resiliency and you have to keep, and sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. but you don't give up.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always give you balance, I think, because you're always like, okay, I could do this better. I can do this better.
It's that hustle and that drive. I mean, it's, I know from my, from my failures, and I wouldn't even say they're failures. I would say failure is the best instructor, but from those things falling on my face and picking myself up again and like, all right, I'm going to just keep forging on. You learn, you take away the lessons that, like, don't do that again. Like, note to self, like, make sure you don't overextend.
It definitely feels like the wiggle room to make mistakes gets less and less.
Yeah.
The more you hone in on your craft, feels like there's less wiggle room to screw up, to me, at least right now.
I feel like that, especially with our age. I mean, like, I definitely feel like the wiggle room of like, okay, here we go again. Like, let's do this. Like, this is time number 4.
Yeah, but age is a number. So,
100%.
I mean, it is like, sometimes I'm so excited about something like a kid. My staff is so young, and sometimes they're more fun than hanging out with my peers. Like, it's more interesting to me sometimes their pop culture opposed to my pop culture.
Well, you saw that you commented on that video of on my personal Instagram, because like, I never get to have fun like that because I'm always by myself.
Oh yeah, in the car. Yeah, I love that.
So much fun to have fun. And I think for me, I guess where I need to find balance is like having fun, like laughing,
finding the fucking joy. Yeah, you're right.
And I think being around younger, that energy is like so much fun. And being around the two of them, like they're both like, one's late 20s and one's 30s. It's like, I'm like 20 plus years older than them, but it was so much fun to be around that energy and to laugh and to like.
Oh my God. When my son told me it was for Christmas, he's DJing. I'll come home from work and like my walls are vibrating, like, rah, and I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Like I'm like, I like it. It's different because I come up when he goes to college, then everything's quiet. And I was like, I like the walls vibrating. Like, it's okay.
Well, okay. So Fred, I still go by this, and it's just what you said. Energy creates energy.
Totally. Yeah. So,
well,
no bad days, Michelle.
No bad days. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you for asking me, Michelle. You're always so super supportive. You're like definitely a girl's girl.
I
recognize that. Thank you.
I adore you. And it's like, I'm so proud of you. And it's like, I'm so honored to say you're my friend, and the history that we have together is one of those things that I will never forget. So I'm super honored that you came on board, and it was like fun.
I guess I'll see you in 10 years in Costa Rica or Bali.
God, I hope so. No. Your lips to God's ears.
And me wearing underwear, carrying a candle.
Your lips to God's ears.